the Desert Tiger Podcast.
All right, Ambush, we are here with someone that I would describe as a Renaissance man, a Renaissance person. One, Death by Tapioca. He's a hip-hop artist, a DJ, a manager. Like, there's so many different things that go into this, and we're going to dive into a little bit of it here today. How's it going, Death by Tapioca?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me on the show. It's damn Renaissance, man. Those are big words. I mean, I'm just trying to do me, man. I'm just trying to express myself in any way I can. But thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes. Well, expression is very important. And like I said, we're going to dive into that here today. So I want to lay a little bit of a foundation before we get to the actual music itself. So when it comes to progressing into the arts, because like I said, an artist manager, a poet, a DJ, everything. So where is the actual beginning? Was it poetry that first sort of draw you into the arts that allowed you that form of expression, or where was the beginning?
The beginning was always music, but lyrics were a big part of it. I was always kind of drawn by lyrics to the point where I would really be consumed by it. And if the song didn't have a message, I would kind of be tuned out, and I would be very rebellious against, pop culture, because I would be like hypercritical of songs with, I guess, generic or not as deep lyricism. So I guess poetry has always kind of had a big influence on me. And it's interesting because I was in the music scene for a while as under a different stage name and with a band. And I stepped away from it, went back to school, and kind of took my mind off of creating music for a while. And what got me back into it was poetry. So I think poetry really is, in a way, the foundation for the music that I create, although I've always had a musical mind and inclination.
Okay. So you mentioned that you had stepped away from sort of the music scene for a while. So what was it that inspired the return to music under the name Death by Tapioca then?
That's a great question. I think one thing that I gained when I stepped away from being involved in the industry was an appreciation for music. I really regained that. I gained being a fan because I was under this like mentality of I need to be involved in these productions. Like, I'm in the music industry. This is my profession. This is what I do. If there's a concert going on, even if it's like a headliner, like a major label artist or what have you, I either need to be putting on the show, because I was a concert promoter as well. Talk about more hats. So I need to be putting on the show, or I need to be opening, or both. Right. And when I stepped away from the scene, I just started to go to concerts. I was like, oh, wait a minute, hold on. I don't have to have this like facade of, this ego thing of like me needing to be involved with this concert. I can just go and enjoy it. And the fact that I was just going and seeing concerts and seeing artists I was interested in and appreciated, that just kind of opened things up for me. And it got me really, really into this fan mindset again. And I think that was the first step towards coming back into music and the whole branding change, name change, because I just wanted a break from what I was doing before. Because again, I found it was a lot more egotistical and a lot more like angry and just like jaded, and I was just like, I can chill. It's not that serious. It is serious. It's a business, it's a profession. But at the same time, like, I don't want to lose that fun aspect of it. And that's why it's Death by Tapioca, because that would be a pretty fun way to die.
I mean, sounds good to me, right? Little bubbles. All right, let's go.
Yeah.
But no, I really love just sort of that perspective that you gave, because it's true, as musicians, as artists, as creatives, it's sometimes we can become a little jaded by the fact that we're involved with the industry and otherwise that we're engulfed, that we're enveloped with it. And sometimes we lose that aspect of just being a fan or the fun, when in reality, like, we should be having fun when we're creating the music, because we're hoping that people are having fun when they're listening to it, or at least taking something from the music, right?
Yeah. No, for sure, for sure. That's a really great point. Like, kind of putting ourselves in the shoes of a listener, and how can we do that if we're not actually even listening to music in that way?
No, you'll find a lot of local bands that won't go to shows sometimes and like see what other bands are in their scene, and like until you play a show with them, oh, well, where have you guys been? Well, they've been playing shows the entire time. Where have you been, right?
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, like, dude, like that. I don't know how it is in, like, how is the scene in Kamloops? Because like in Toronto, it's definitely like there's so much going on that I can't even keep up. Like, I wish I could go to every show, but there's just so much going on.
We're a much smaller city, and like we have a lack of local bands, and even then, like, I've promoted a couple shows, but like it's Kamloops itself is like very much difficult when it comes to like venues, because I was trying to run like all ages shows, because I wanted like you say, you have youth that's angsty, maybe angry. You want to give them somewhere like a creative, a healthy place to try and release and express themselves. But it's like I was fighting with venues, and then like before COVID started, it was. But now, like after COVID, I might be too busy to promote, so I don't know who's going to be doing the all ages scene inside of this city, right?
That's really cool. I mean, it's a great outlook to, I think, to be thinking about what would be, what the next generation is going to want, and what the next generation could use. I think like for me, it's like I really started to embrace even like not needing to swear in songs. And that's, I know this is going even beyond like all ages, so like family friendly, because we all know that just because all ages doesn't mean that people are wholesome. You know what I'm saying? Like, I definitely was not wholesome as a teenager. Like teenagers I know are not wholesome, and that's awesome. I wouldn't want it any other way. But I think on the flip side of that, like kind of being tuned in and being tapped in to like what's going on currently, I think that's a great way to live. I think that's just a great way for like, yeah, I mean, like, I don't know, how do you gain like an appreciation for, I don't know, not to be corny, but like just an appreciation for life a bit more, that you can kind of resonate and tap in with what younger people are going through or into?
No, absolutely. It's kind of like, it's like we said, everybody sort of has a different experience, and you're sort of trying to pull it in, but you never really know what somebody's going through or otherwise. And then like with technology, it's some things move so fast, so it's hard to keep up with like what youth is going through when you're trying to keep up with what your own like life is keeping up with. But at the exact same time, it's knowing that you can, no matter what it may happen to be, whether they're going through good, whether they're going through bad, just being able to help like through that experience, show them other outlets, and maybe give them the chance to pursue their own outlets. I definitely feel like it does sort of keep me like connected, which I really do enjoy.
Yeah, it's an awesome feeling for sure. And like, dude, I totally feel you about like the the platforms and all that. Like, I'm looking for the next TikTok, because I'm like, I can't be behind on this next, whatever next social media it is.
Everybody's already getting all the million views on TikTok. It's already too late. What's the next one? Where is it?
What's the next one?
All right. So you mentioned that you were sort of performing, doing the band thing before sort of like coming into this. So were you sort of doing the hip hop sound before, like the Death by Tapioca, or was this sort of a new experience that you were delving into?
It's both, but I was in hip hop. I was definitely a rapper before. I think I was probably more of a rapper before I am now. And it's not like a retraining myself or anything like that. It's just being more comfortable with my voice and being like more inclined to sing and to kind of bring more of myself on record. But it is similar in that it was hip hop, and my music before was, I was doing solo music and I was in a band, but I was the rapper in the band. But it's different in that, again, going back to like the subject matter. And not that the songs I'm writing now aren't also like, can't be aggressive. Not that they can't be even angry or like coming from a place of frustration and upset or fear. Because I think those are emotions that I want to check in with and to take account for, and not just hide under the rug, right? Like, I think what I would do before was I would, express myself. I would vent in songs, but it was just a lot of animosity. I think now what I try to do is I try to channel my animosity, or if that's what I'm feeling, the anger I'm feeling, to a better end. Like, so for instance, I have a song on my Spotify right now. It's called Defund the Police. And that came out of a response to the police brutality that we have been seeing continuously, but particularly the events of last year. Because I have written about this topic before too. Like, I have a music video for an older song called Breathe. And I said, it's getting hard to breathe. And that came around the Eric Garner case. So we're talking 2014, 2015 here. So it's always been in my ethos, but what I tried with the last song was I tried to be more like, more empathetic and put myself in the shoes of victims. And I also tried to kind of say, hey, what's the solution to this? Like, what can we do to better this situation? And so the song I'm about to put out is called Out Like Trout, and it's a lot more positive. It's a lot more upbeat. I'm not saying that every song is going to be like that, but at least every song is going to have more of like, I'm really trying to be a more like solutions oriented person through my music, rather than just somebody who's mad at the world.
You're still capable of fully expressing and exploring those emotions, and obviously you should, because you shouldn't deny those other pieces of yourself, but at the exact same time, sort of just going about it in a much more reflective, a much more intelligent way, where, like you said, trying to see like, how can I help? What can I do? Rather than just being angry about it.
Exactly. And it's like, just like you said, you can't ignore those emotions. I think it's also naive or ignorant to ignore the realities of the world. Like, and it's also insulting, right? If I'm listening to a song where somebody's just like downplaying what I'm going through, it's like, oh, just like, just smile or whatever. Like, I'm not calling anybody out on this, but like, if I'm going to hear something that's like, that in my mind trivializes what I'm going through, I'm not gonna connect with it as much. And so even with things like mental health or like relationships, like things that are less like life or death, but still important, very important to people, and can be life or death. I'm not going to just deny that. I think it's just being genuine, and and acknowledging the reality of those situations is just the right thing to do.
Very, very true. And good on you for being someone who is willing to do that, because some people necessarily don't always want to, because sometimes they're afraid that people don't want to listen to it or otherwise. But once again, like you said, it's kind of naive to run away from the nature of the world. How do you fix the world if you're hiding from the things that sit inside of it, right?
Yeah, 100%. And also too, like I don't want to like just say that it's naive, because I know everyone's got their own time, right? Like everyone takes time to process things, and especially for like traumatic experiences, people aren't always ready to discuss them, which is, obviously it's totally fine. That's their choice. But I think as a songwriter, I just kind of look at it like I can't, for me, I can't consciously just pretend that things are one way when they're not.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I want to dive a little bit further into this new track that will be out by the time this interview is out, with Out Like Trout. So what exact energy were you trying to capture exactly with that? Because you said a little bit more positive, but what exactly were the emotions, the vibes you were trying to capture?
Yeah, dude, I was just having so much fun. I was literally having a blast while I like wrote that, while I, even like thought of that being a song. It was just a lot of fun. Um, and it was written very publicly, like not very publicly, like it wasn't like written with, on Twitter or anything like that. I wasn't asking people to do Mad Libs, but, it was written like the inspiration came from my workplace. So I went back to school a few years ago to study business, and I just ended up working on campus. And where I worked was a tutoring center, and my boss was just like, she would tell me like, oh, I used to say out like trout with her, with her college buddies when she was in school. And I was just like, I started saying it to myself. I was like, out like trout, out like trout. And it just sounded like a fun thing to say. And I was like, that sounds kind of like it kind of sounds like a bar. That kind of sounds like a rap line. Um, and then one day, let's just say it was after work, I don't want to,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't want to get too into details. But let's say it was after work. Me and some of the coworkers, I was just like, hey guys, Out Like Trout, like what can we do with this song? What can we do with these lyrics? Um, what can we how can we turn this into a song? And so we started brainstorming. We had like whole brainstorming sessions on like what lyrics would go with that, what kind of story it would try to tell. And I think my coworkers were just like, for the most part, they were kind of like, okay, yeah, like yay or naying me on things. They were kind of like, what are you doing? We're not songwriters. But it was pretty funny. It was pretty fun for me anyway, just to kind of incorporate everyone and have everyone like part of the process, even if it was just watching me for some of it. But I was having like just a great time bonding with my coworkers and writing a song about like having fun and being positive. So I'm sorry, I don't know if I got away from the question, but like everything about the song is about having fun, being positive, being drama free, being comfortable in your own skin, and doing you.
Hmm. Basically, just not letting the negativity inside of your world, not letting it shake you, affect you, and just sort of just doing you, sort of thing.
Exactly. Out like trout. I'm out. Like if it's going to be drama or negativity, I'm out.
Kind of like Kim Mitchell's "Go for a Soda" then type of a thing.
Right. Right. Might as well go for a soda. Like, dude, like nobody's hurt. Like, and I think kind of going back to like the whole like it's not that serious mentality of like, whatever the drama is, it cannot be that serious. Hopefully, knock on wood, fingers crossed. Um, yeah, it's just like no gossip, none of that, no clout chasing, just authenticity, for whatever that means to whoever.
Awesome. Awesome. I love the message. Just be unique, be you, and just be true.
Yeah, you are unique. Like, I mean, who is not unique? I mean, who have we ever met that's like, even if people we think, oh, like those two people like are twins almost or whatever, or they're like, you know, even twins are not like the same. They're not the same. You talk to two twins, they'd be like, no, we're completely different. Like, and they may not be identical twins, but they'll be like, oh, we're completely different. We think completely differently. So yeah, it's just about like embracing um, yourself, and that's something that like it's a reflection. It's a self reflection of me because it's something that I've been trying to do more of over the years. Like be more okay with me and yeah, I think as long as I'm expressing that and being true to that, then yeah, might as well go for soda.
Exactly. Out like trout. Out like trout, baby. Awesome. I love it. I love it. And I've had a blast with this conversation. I have one last question, Albors. Are you ready?
Let's go.
All right. So we've talked about the progression into Death by Tapioca, and I feel like we've answered a little bit of this question already. But going into this new music, expressing yourself a little bit smarter and otherwise, and sort of building yourself into this new realm of expression, how has this last few years, this period of time, how has it helped you grow as a human being, or what has it taught you about yourself?
That's a good question. I've, I've learned a lot. First of all, I've learned to slow things down and to really like take time to hone in on my craft in any way possible. And so getting into poetry has really helped with that. I'm part of a I'm part of a poetry group. We meet every week. Shout out to them. Shout out to David DeLisca, who is um, in many ways, like I'll credit him for getting me writing consistently and getting me back into the mode of writing. And then from there, building upon that inspiration and that community by, trying to challenge myself to learn more tactical ways of songwriting and all that stuff. And just knowing that little things build up and, setting habits for myself. That's another big thing is like just being habitual with my craft. And also to other elements that I've incorporated in my life, right? So like I think with habit building, that's definitely helped. Um, in general, I try to be more humble and try to listen more. Sometimes I do catch myself like just I'm like, ooh, am I just saying something just to say something? And that goes back to the music too. It's like, am I just saying something for the shock value? Um, am I listening to my producer? Like shout out my producer too. Justin Limited, he produced Out Like Trout. Um, and like just taking his feedback in as a very constructive thing. I'm like, knowing that, feedback I get for like 99% of it was going to be people looking out for for my best interests. And so just to be humble and be like, yo, like, listen. And that's the other thing that I've really learned over time. And it all goes back to like not rushing and taking time with things and learning the craft and mastering your craft is um, kind of like looking outside of the box into how I could work with my network more. And I don't think I would have thought to do like an animated music video, 5-10 years ago. I might have thought that was like, oh, it's like that's not what a rapper would do. But I'm putting out an animated music video because I think is because I was more receptive to the world around me. So yeah, and the one thing I'm working on right now, so I can't really say the results of it, but just trying to be more in the present. And I think that's something that I've learned over the past few years, maybe haven't applied all the way, but definitely being in the present moment is something that I think is important for everybody, for all of us.
Well, it's sometimes it takes a little bit of time to learn, not just learn, but also apply a lesson. So I'm sure as time goes on, as you continue to embrace and take in those moments, to take the moment to smell the flowers per se, as you continue to grow in those ways as well. And I'm excited to see the future and the growth that it will bring you there, not only as a person, but also as a musician. So thank you so much, Death by Tapioca, for joining us here on the DTP.
Thank you so much for having me, Colton. Really appreciate it. And yeah, wishing you all the best as well, because I know you're a Renaissance man as well. You have several hats that you wear. So, keep doing you. And I'm so thankful that you had me on the show.